Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. We are continuing our series on Are Trade Organizations Outdated? I've talked with the young guys. I've talked with the old guys. I've talked with the middle-aged guys. It's time to hear from the ladies. And with us today, we have a wonderful crew with Laurie Bitzkowski, Kathy Case, and Breanna Ledbetter. So we're going to jump right into this. We're going to let them introduce themselves, and we're going to get talking about, are trade organizations outdated? Are they relevant? Are they doing what they need to do for this industry? So, Laurie, we're going to start with you. Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it?
My name's Laurie. My company is Harmony Hardwoods, and I am based out of Denver, and got into hardwood flooring about 10 years ago and just loved it and just kept going with it and started my company shortly after I learned how to do it. I was in my first year and was just like, well, I'm going to just do it, and been doing it ever since, and it's going good.
Awesome. I'm a sucker for a hardwood floor. There's nothing like one. So I love hearing that. All right, Kathy.
Hi, my name is Kathy Case. I'm the owner of Takeoff LLC. We're a contract estimating service for commercial flooring for all types of flooring. I started in the industry on the ceramic tile side. I'm third generation and learned from the ground up, installing, project managing, sales, executive management. And in 2009, I changed my focus to estimating because architects weren't able to write the specs the way they needed to be. And with my background on the technical side, I felt that I could serve the industry best by focusing on estimating and trying to get things straightened out in the beginning. So that's what I do now.
Awesome. And Breanna.
My name is Breanna Ledbetter, and I've been working in tile for about 7 years now. When my husband and I got married, he had an installation business, so I decided I would quit my job and I would come to work with him. So I've been doing that for 7 years now, and just trying to learn something new every day and hopefully get to the point where I can install on my own.
And this is your second time on. You got to get the plug in there. You are the better half of Little Tile Guy. Okay, so we'll forget all about Oliver, and we can.
Well, that's
we
what
can
everybody tells me,
but they've been on. Oliver and Breanna have been on. I got an episode. Go search the catalog. It's called "I Work with My Wife," and they not only work together all day, but they live in a tiny home together. They can't even get away from each other, folks. It's amazing.
It's true. We recently upgraded from 140 square feet to 400, so we have some space now.
Okay, you can get 20 feet away from each other.
Right.
I love it. All right, Breanna, let's start with you. So I know we were just at coverings together. We ran into each other. We chatted. We hung out. It was fun. I know that that means that there's probably some kind of involvement with the NTCA. But what's your experience with trade organizations, your experiences with them, and what's that background kind of look for you?
It's pretty new to me. I really didn't have much exposure before. I think the first coverings I went to where I would have had kind of my first exposure was 2015. But my experience has been anything that's been positive. Mostly, with NTCA is the one that I'm most familiar with. Mm-hmm. But I can just say from my, first impressions of everything, it's a really great organization. I think that people are one of the best things about it. Everyone that works with them is really great. They're very friendly, very welcoming, very encouraging, mm-hmm. And they're fun to hang out with. So I really appreciate that. So it was nice at this last coverings to kind of get to know, some more of them. My husband is familiar with them. He has been for a little bit, but I have never really met anybody. So I was really glad that I got to do that.
Okay. And so, I mean, that's going to mean that, Tile Letter was probably around the house for years. Were you picking that up and reading it, or is that something that maybe just like sits there when it comes in the mail and like Oliver checks it out, or are you checking that out?
No, definitely. Yeah, it's something that anything that I can read or read, watch, look at, I want to. I'm really trying to like absorb as much information as I can because I am newer to it. And I don't have, a ton of experience. So yeah, I mean, and I don't have an aversion to printed things. I feel like I'm still at the age where I do remember where things like an iPhone was a novelty when I was a senior in high school. So I love, magazines. I always have. But I think just in general, things like that are disappearing, unfortunately.
That I agree with. Laurie, what is your kind of experience with trade organizations?
Well, I basically would not super familiar with them. The only time I actually found them pretty useful was in the beginning. I would search NWFA website for basic guidelines and stuff like that, because basically when I started as an installer and finisher, it was up to me to just kind of figure things out. So I would do a lot of research in the beginning and just kind of just figure it out on my own. But as far as like me being a part of their organization, I really wasn't. I was just busy doing jobs and installing floors and finishing them. So occasionally I'd pick up a magazine while I was waiting at the supply house, and it was definitely interesting to me, and I would read it and I enjoyed it. But as far as me being a member and really active and taking their courses, I never really did anything like that.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're going to dig into that a little bit more because I want to find out, I get being busy. I do, because we all get busy, and you're like, you may know a course exists, but if you don't put something on your schedule 3 months or 6 months in advance, you're never going to go. And so you'll talk about it, and then it comes and goes, and I'll take the job instead of going to the course. So I want to get into that and find out how we can maybe get you to a course, get you to be a member, get more involved, and kind of help. I think a lot of people miss what's happening, and they expect the trade organization to be the feet on the ground. And they are, like, they have a big message, but honestly, it's the members that need to go and support it. And we're the boots on the ground. And so they kind of expect the organization to pull all the weight, and that's not how it needs to work. So I want to dig into this a little bit more in a minute here. We're going to let Kathy tell us about her experiences, because she's got many, between the union and actually being, talking with people at NTCA and probably other organizations as well.
I'm third generation from the ceramic tile side, so I heard the stories of my grandfather actually helping get the union started in Connecticut. And at that time, it was really intended to be able to provide better benefits for the members, grouping businesses together versus each company having to go out individually. So the original intent, whether it was benefits or training, certainly had a major plus for them coming together. Unfortunately, as things go, sometimes they just, get assumed, like you were saying, everybody assumes that it's the organization, and that's not the case. And so there certainly have been instances that I've had throughout the time while I was actively involved on the contracting side, where they didn't necessarily show the best side.
Mm-hmm. And that's one perspective. But now that you're on like this takeoff side, I'd be interested, how many plans do you see come through that would list like they require a 5-star contractor? Because that's a thing through the NTCA, that if you have a certain amount of CTIs, and you can really you can go and get the company established to kind of be the creme de la creme in your area, right? And then if you can get a architect and be educated and list that only 5-star companies can do it, well, if you're the only one in town, you're guaranteed the job.
Yeah, the NTCA is doing an amazing job with the training and the promotion. Just it seems like almost every single spec we're seeing is requiring the 5-star installers. So they're
Okay.
doing an amazing job with that.
Okay. And so, I mean, there's involvement with them. And then you have involvement with your National Women in Construction?
Yes, National Association of Women in
There it is.
Construction.
Okay, yeah.
AKA NAM.
And so
Yeah,
then you're involved with them as well. What's that kind of been like?
So the involvement with NAWIC has been, for me, trying to really promote trade careers starting from elementary school all the way up through high school. That's been my focus with the organization. And then promoting the Association for Women in general so that they have the available resources for additional education.
Okay. And there's chapters all across the country, correct?
That is correct. They're actually outside of the country as well. Through Tile Chicks, I had somebody reach out to me from Australia asking if there's a chapter there. And I didn't realize that they were outside of the US until I looked it up. And there's actually 2 chapters in Australia.
Awesome.
So it's not limited to the US.
Having, obviously, that's all run by women. It's not that men can't come in and like give you a hand here and there, but if I remember correctly from another explanation you had at one point, it's women doing the whole thing, right? It's women on the board. It's women doing their thing. And so how do you think that experience of an organization run only by women compares to the organizations that, you know, the NTCA, the NWFA, CFI, I think traditionally it's a lot of men involved, and it's not that there haven't been women involved, but do you see a difference in how the organizations are run compared to each other based upon who's running them?
Well, I'm glad that you pointed out the note from a previous podcast. Ironically, since then, NAWIC is creating a membership for men within the organization. They won't have voting rights necessarily, as I understand it, but they will be able to become members.
Okay.
I think one of the tough things for women in general is that they feel kind of shunned by the general population and can have a difficult time getting training. So by having an association run for women by women, it just gives them a safety zone to be able to network and get information. You're right, when it comes to the other organizations, there are some women that make it to that top spot, but they're few and far between. Mm-hmm. And I know from the NTCA, they're embracing it and trying to get more women in more leadership roles. So kudos to them.
I agree. I think it's definitely an important thing. The attention to detail, generally more caring. There's many aspects that a woman's going to bring to an environment that can lift it up, as opposed to having some grumpy guy like get upset with you and throw a trowel at you, and then you want to quit and you don't want to work. So whether it's trying to push the industry forward or just being on a job site and maybe having someone that can have a little more patience and care, it's going to be a good thing all around, let alone the attention to detail. I see, not that men can't do it, but I see a lot of women pumping out a lot of amazing work lately, and it's putting some of the guys to shame. I'm not going to lie. So I love seeing it. All right, Laurie, I want to talk about, you know, NWFA exists. You found their installation guidelines when you started, but you're not a member. We were talking on the phone before we did this, and you were like, oh, I didn't know they had like classes. And so, you know, they're there, but you never really looked into it. So
yeah, exactly.
What is it, because the information isn't getting to you and you don't know what they're doing, what they stand for and what they offer? Or is it because you know they're there, you might've heard a thing or two and you're just like, I'm too busy working, and so I'm going to keep doing my thing?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if I was having a lot of problems on my jobs and installation and finishing problems, I would be interested in different ways of completing the jobs. And I'd really be interested in certain courses and stuff like that. But as of right now, it's like I've figured it out what the main scope of work here in Denver is. You know, it's basically rebuilds and new builds and some custom.
Mm-hmm.
I do a bit of like custom flooring, herringbone, chevron patterns, border work, stuff like that. But as far as just like the main installation and sanding and finishing guides, it's like, I don't know if it would be pointless for me. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure I would learn new tricks and stuff like that, but it's like at this point, as I just don't know if I would do it.
Okay. Um, it's I know like one of the biggest things is it gets overlooked, and so Breanna was talking earlier, you know, like she was at Coverings, which is the big like tile show of the year put on by the National Tile Contractors Association. And the
Mhm.
draw is going and getting together with the people and actually having these relationships. Whereas, you know, we're doing this Zoom meeting. It's really cool. I was able to, um, I've interacted with everybody, but we've never interacted in person, right? And so it's all these like digital relationships. Like, is it really a relationship, or is it just this thing that we're kind of able to communicate with each other? And so by being able to go to the NWFA Expo, or you go to one of the trainings, you're meeting these other like-minded individual. Because honestly, if someone's signing up to go to, I don't care if you're taking the certified tile installer test, or you're going to a NWFA training or a CFI training or certification, like you're taking time away from your business and investing in yourself. And so you're technically losing money for the week because you're not running your business, and then you're spending even more money because you got to get the hotel, the flight, the rental car, all that stuff. And so people that are willing to do that are the people that I want to go interact with, because they're like-minded individuals. They probably want to compete at the top of the market. They probably want to grow their business. And when I look around and I try and interact with some people in my local market, they're not there.
Mhm.
That mindset isn't as prevalent as I would like it to be, and it can get really discouraging, right? Like if you hear a lot like you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with the most. I don't want to hang around with the guys that are complaining that the market sucks and that they can't charge enough, and all the
Mhm.
the homeowners don't want to pay, and like if they're just going to be Debbie Downers, like I don't want to hang out with them. So
Mhm.
these organizations have opened up a world for me to go and hang out with people that want to be at the top of the market. So if I present it to you like that, then does it become more enticing to want to see what is going on with them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, especially if there's, different tips that they could teach about certain aspects of the business.
Mm-hmm.
That would be entertaining and something to look into
Okay.
for sure.
And then I know what the NWFA has a similar program to the NTCA, and I hate vouchers being the selling point because there's so many other benefits that you get through being a member. But honestly,
Mhm.
if you become an NWFA member, they'll send you a bunch of coupons that you can go and use at different suppliers, and it'll pay for your I think it's like $500 or $600, and you get a couple $1,000s in vouchers. So
Mhm.
you go and use those, and then it immediately pays itself and more. So, that's like the easiest way to do it. Like you can't lose money on it, and then you still get all the other benefits. So, I know that there's other things going on too, where NWFA does some lobbying. So there's in order to keep regulations tight or be able to make sure that we're able to get what I don't know all the stuff they're doing, but there is some like lobbying stuff going on to benefit the industry, and it's we don't always hear about it. So I mean, if you're picking up a magazine here and there, in the shop. Is nobody in your area like talking about the organization? Is there not somebody that's, really into it, or the supply house doesn't have any information on it and they're not putting it out there to hear,
Not really.
Okay.
No. Bona, I'm sure you're familiar with Bona. They offer courses, and those have been brought to my attention, and they seem pretty cool. I mean, I could have used them in the beginning. They had, like beginner courses on how to sand floors and how to stain properly, and that kind of stuff would have been nice to have the opportunity to do when I first started. But it's just like one of those things when you're learning how to do something. It's trial and error. You read as much information as you can, but it's basically just a hands-on kind of thing. You figure out what patterns work and what methods are the best way and what products. And but a course would have been nice, and I know they did offer those kind of courses. I would see flyers put up.
Okay.
But that's about it.
Okay. So, I mean, they're the local reps traveling through, but you're not seeing anything from a larger scale, which, okay.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the, as I don't feel they necessarily meet us where we're at these days. And there used to be a lot more print, and now print's falling out of style and everything's going digital, and there is some digital stuff from the trade organizations, but I don't know that it's meeting us where we're at. If the young generation is hanging out on TikTok, I know that none of them are like promoting themselves on TikTok, and I don't know that it may not work, but that's where the kids are, that they technically want to get involved in the industry. So there's some interesting ways to take it. Breanna, you have been doing it 7 years. You know it's there, but you've just recently started getting more involved, and you did a coverings in 2015, but then it sounds like you kind of didn't go to a couple, and then you were out there this year. So what's been your experience, your draw of, Oliver being involved and then you being probably drawn in because of that, but it seems that you are interested in doing more than just kind of hanging out and picking things up here and there.
Yeah, definitely. And I really relate to what Laurie said about being busy. I think that's why we honestly, I'll be honest, we have missed like 4 coverings before this last one, because like you said, you got to get it on your calendar. If you don't, when it comes around, it gets close, you're already booked out. You don't have time to go. So I definitely agree with, with what she was saying about being busy. And the same goes for like local, events and things. Like you just got to like carve out the time for it. And it's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it if you can. But yeah, I think about a year and a half ago, I just got invited to be in a couple of the Facebook groups. Some of them, for women that are in the tile industry. So, I hadn't really been involved in that before. It wasn't really something that interested me, because I know Oliver was on a lot of them, and you hear about the things that go on in the conversations, and it just wasn't that interesting to me. So I do appreciate having one that's, specifically for women. But yeah, I just, personally, I felt like I kind of I wasn't really getting better or like growing my confidence in the last couple of years. So I just, anything that I can try to do to increase my knowledge and, kind of get my hands in there more, so that I can be, a little bit more independent, as far as work goes, and on the installation side.
So how do you feel that NTCA is facilitating that for you?
I think just, I really like the community aspect of it. Like I said, this last covering is getting to meet a lot of different people. And, they have, some newer trainers that they've brought on. They have a woman, there's someone that just became a trainer that's here in our area in North Carolina. We're friends with him. So just seeing, younger people and women getting more involved with that organization, it's definitely, just encouraged me to kind of pay more attention.
Okay. So, I mean, you like the move they're making to kind of update themselves, put some younger faces in there, and I don't know. I think it's they're what's the word? They're not necessarily putting a younger look, regentrifying. They're trying to open up and not have the same old people, right? It's not that the people at the top aren't super knowledgeable and know what they're doing, but if we're trying to reach a younger audience, do we want to have the old guy as the face, or do we want to have some younger faces that are more relatable to an 18 to 24-year-old?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think it's so important right now that younger people realize that they can learn a trade, because I mean, we all know college is crazy expensive, and there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people are leaving college with so much debt, and it seems like a terrible way to start your life, just saddled with that. And I think a lot of younger people look down on trades to some extent because, maybe their parents have had people work in their house, and it's, like an old handyman guy, and, it's not someone that they relate to at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's, any of these organizations, if they can really, reach younger people, and help them realize that a trade is something that's feasible and that they can be really successful in. There's really successful people in the tile industry, and they work with their hands and they work hard and they get dirty, but they make a really great living, and, they didn't have to necessarily, go the college route to get there. So I just think it's important that younger people realize that the option is out there for them.
I 100% agree. Look, I went the college route. And I went a really bad college route. Okay. I went and got myself a film degree. So that is, the accreditation on that. I could take down the road here to Arizona State University, and they would laugh at me and tell me that I didn't even have an associate's degree, and I technically have a bachelor's degree. So, live and learn, but the only way it got paid off was me getting into the trades and starting my own flooring company. And then it got paid off really, really quick. So it's not that this path can't be lucrative, but I think that's what we need to be showing is like, hey, you can do this. You don't have to be broke. And that community that you're able to reach out to and learn from is what did it for me, and I think for you guys it's given you a lot of opportunities, and so that's huge. Go ahead. I was just going to come to you. What do you got?
Just a quick note though, from the ties event this year, both Jim Aaron and Scott Humphrey talked about going in front of a class of seniors that were going into construction. And he asked everybody who was going into construction if anybody was going into flooring, and nobody raised their hand. And they asked if anybody thought of going into flooring, and the response is, that's a thing. People walk on floors all day long, and they just seem to think that they miraculously just show up. And until we get in front of those kids in school and make them realize that is a career and that you can make really good money doing it, that we're going to continue to have problems getting people into the business.
Oh, I 100% agree. I've talked about it on the podcast before. I think we're a hidden trade. Okay. You don't see somebody make a shower. You don't see somebody install your floor unless your parents have it done and you're a kid that's not going to school or whatever. It's not an experience a lot of people get, right? The house goes up and you see the framer, you see the roofer, you see the painter, you see people on the outside of the house. You drive down the road, you see the guy operating the excavator, you see him, with a jackhammer busting the road up or whatever. Like, you see other types of construction, but you don't see us, and it's because we're inside. And they've invented awesome tools where you don't even have to come outside anymore. You can run a dustless equipment and sand all day inside. You can get an IQ saw and you can cut your tiles inside and not have to go outside to a wet saw. And with vinyl plank, I don't even have to bust out a saw most days. I can just use my utility knife and score and snap everything all day long. I don't even have to get up off the floor. So who's going to see us? And that's the thing. If we're not out advocating for ourselves, who's going to do it? And it's not that I don't want the industry organizations to do it, but it goes back to what I said earlier. The members need to further push the message that they're putting out. If you truly believe in what this organization is doing, you've got to be a participant in delivering that message. Kathy, I want to talk about your experience with community, because you were at TICE, you were at coverings this year. And so what is being involved in your different roles throughout this, how has being involved in the community that's made through the trade organizations and their shows helped you?
For me, I actually am there more to help others. I want to be able to spread what I've learned and make it easier for someone else. So that's the main reason that I'm there. It's 43 years this year that I've been in the industry. I've had a lot of experiences that can help people avoid making mistakes, or teaching them how to talk to someone, how to deal with situations. And so that's the main reason that I go.
I love it. And I mean, but is that a new development? Because it couldn't have been like that's why you initially started going, right? Like, did you go just to see what was coming up and you got education from others and now it's turned into you're the mentor? Or did you just decide like I have a ton of experience and I want to go be the mentor?
No, good point. When I started, I was going to absorb as much information as I could. You know, I went from running my first project in May of '85. My dad passed away in September and I was running the entire company. And I had to learn under fire. So I absorbed everything I could. And even to this day, I believe it doesn't matter how old or how long you've been in the industry, there's always something new coming out that you can learn. So there's no question that, you know, I still go to be able to pick up some new tips, but I enjoy being able to meet with people and talk to them and share my stories.
I think that's what it's all about, is just going and hanging out and building those relationships. Laurie, you obviously haven't done this. Is there a local community in Colorado that you've found that you can be a part of? Was there somebody that you were able to call locally and ask questions to and say, hey man, I'm really having trouble like learning how to sand this floor? Or were you just, you picked it up, said, I really want to do this, and you've, you know, it was trial by fire?
It really was trial by fire. I did have a couple associates that had their own businesses that I could call and be like, why is this happening? What's going on? And sometimes they would give me really good information. And then other times they would give me information that I would follow and mess things up even more. So for me, it was a lot of, in the beginning, the first few months were the hardest and had to resand a couple jobs. But luckily, I would write all my processes down. And then after doing them repeatedly, I figured out what finally worked. And then basically I still do the same process as I did 10 years ago. Same patterns, you know, there's always variables, but I kind of learned that I had to figure it out on my own. And you know, sometimes I could ask questions to different associates with their own business, and sometimes it was very useful. And sometimes I would even ask the guys at the supply shop for certain questions, and they would help with that. But as far as like information goes, you can research on the internet all day, but you never know what you're going to get.
Yes, it's a very scary place if you don't know how to translate it. So, I mean, it sounds like if there would have been some kind of community, it would have been very helpful to you, or someone to kind of come along and mentor you and help build you up. And I think that's a huge problem in this industry, is that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people have a scarcity mindset. And they don't want to, even if you're learning under somebody, they don't want to train you to be 100% knowledgeable. They want to hold back 70% of it and teach you just enough to be helpful to them, but not let you be able to do it all on your own. And then this person says, well, I'm not making enough money, I got to go out on my own. And they start hacking it up, and they're, you know, They don't know how to charge. They don't know how to do anything. And so you're out asking questions and these guys are giving you horrible advice. And was it to try and trip you up and make it so your company closed down? Or was it because they don't know what they're talking about and they think that's how you do it, and that's not going to actually produce good floors? Like, which one is it?
Mm-hmm.
So
I never did figure that one out, but I figured out what worked and stuck by it ever since.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was kind of just trial by error. So yes, it would have been nice to have, you know, like a course to go to, or just, you know, someone to talk to about
Mm-hmm.
this. But it was just one of those things where I was very, very determined, and I knew I could do it. And I just stuck with it, even through all the nightmares.
Okay. No, and I mean, that screams a lot about your character of being able to take something on, and yeah, it's frustrating, but like, you're going to overcome and figure it out. So
Yeah.
we definitely need more people in the industry doing that and being able to push us forward. And then hopefully, I don't know what size you've grown to, but like, hopefully you're trying to bring people in and teach them how to successfully do this and make it a better place to just a better industry to be a part of. I'm going to jump in, interrupt us for 1 second here. The International Surface Event, the annual flooring, stone, and tile sourcing experience in Las Vegas, has a unique experience for the industry. Introducing the Surfaces Show Home, Calibu Vineyard by Jennifer Farrell. Surfaces is working with celebrity design and TV host Jennifer Farrell to develop a 7,300 square foot show home in California. The home is under construction, but due to technology from Visualizer Plus, the industry can experience virtual room reveals each month. Then plan to view Calibu Vineyard in person or virtually summer 2022 during the home tours. Visit www.calibuvineyard.com now to sign up and join the journey. I also want to let everybody know that Floor Academy has teamed up with tiletools.com, and we are giving away this 26-inch RTC tile cutter back here. So you got to become a member of the Floor Academy Facebook group. You got to go find the post in June about the cutter, and you got to like it. Then you got to go to tiletools.com, and you got to like their page. And then on the page, you got to find the post about the tile cutter, and you got to like that. At the end of the month, Steve Sprung and I will compare notes to everyone that followed directions properly. We'll go live, and someone gets to walk away with a brand new 26-inch RTC tile cutter. You know you want it. Go do the little bit of work to get it, okay? I don't want it in my house, and my wife doesn't want it in her house anymore either, so it's got to go. Somebody's got to win it, okay? Do me the favor, please. Please go win. All right. Kathy, what is your... I had a question, and then, I get distracted with advertisements. You got to pay the bills, though. Nope. Total blank. This is real good. This is, and this stays in the episode. That's the best part. So everyone's like, why don't you edit, Kyle? You're dealing with multiple people. What have the changes been that you've seen over the years? You've been in your third generation. You've been involved in the industry for many, many years. And so what are these changes that you may have seen or not seen with the industry organizations and how they handle things? Have you seen them evolve to kind of keep up with society and technology, or do you feel that they've remained kind of stagnant?
I think that they've improved, no question. When I was involved on the contracting side, the training was done at the union level. Mm-hmm. And now you're seeing more training available through the NTCA, which I think is key because it's more consistent across the country versus each individual local union hall. Mm-hmm. So I think that the training that the NTCA has created, certainly MAPE, Ledbetter, and I'm sure the other setting manufacturers all have their digital training available now as well, in addition to the training that they do live. Mm-hmm. So that also is another resource. I think that The challenge is the kind of old story that we've been doing it this way for 50 years and it's worked, is the challenge to get past so that people do embrace the training and learn new ways.
The way you've always done it is the safe way, but if you stay the same, then you go obsolete. It's been proven time and time again, but it's a double-edged sword.
Right. And it's not everybody. There is a good group within the NTCA that is there for every training to learn something new, but it's not across the board. And it's only, the industry is only going to be as good as its worst installer.
Mm-hmm. And the way, I think they're doing a really good job of pushing out those trainings now. I see a lot more online. I see a lot more. There's more trainers. There's more trainings. It seems that they're doing a really great job over there. I think maybe it was COVID, right? Like maybe I came in. I've only been in the industry for 7 years, so maybe I came in at a bad time. And by the time I started really getting involved and being more aware of what was going on around me, COVID hit and had everything had to shut down, and that really threw a wrench into any progression some of these organizations were having. I know the Floor Covering Education Foundation was established pretty much right before COVID hit, and they were trying to get their 10-week course going and having conversations, and they had plans, and then bam, you can't do anything. And so it was like this thing was made to hopefully push the industry forward, and it seemed like, well, was it really made to do anything? Because it's just sitting there now. But all of them kind of were, CFI, nobody was doing a lot during that time because you couldn't get together. So how do you train somebody when you can't, especially in a hands-on trade? It's kind of hard to do things through Zoom and really teach you the finer method when it's a hands-on thing. So, it seems that everything's really starting to come back from that, and that's going to hopefully that momentum continues and people pick up and word gets out there. You're doing with the estimating you're doing now. Did you ever go, FCICA has training for takeoffs, I want to say, and estimating. Did you ever go and do any of that, or did you learn all of this on your own prior to, I think if I remember from your backstory in the other podcast, that you would learn from your dad because you were doing the plans and stuff for him?
So I actually picked up a 4-page pamphlet from Dodge McGraw-Hill back in 1979 and learned how to read from that pamphlet, taking out his old takeoffs and trying to duplicate them.
Got it.
That's how I learned to read blueprints. And I've actually trained, when I was still on the contracting side, I trained the union installers in Connecticut how to read blueprints.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, this is something that you've just done. Have you gone and taken any of the courses through any of the other organizations on project management or blueprints or anything, or what you learned is what you know, and it's just always worked and you feel good about it?
I'm pretty well established throughout the industry for what I do, how I do it. I was recently just accepted as the first contract estimating service with StarNet to be a preferred service provider. Other companies have applied and no one's been approved, and we were unanimously approved. So I think what we're doing tends to be a little above and beyond most of what other people are doing.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you were getting involved anywhere else. And, I know you're training tons of people. You have companies call you, you train their people for them. And then, they'll still call you up and be like, hey, we have too many. Can you take a couple for us? So, any plans to develop some kind of an online training program of your own, or some kind of certification training of this is my method, this is how you do it, and put that out there and help people get better?
That has been my goal. One of the I won't call it a challenge, but one of the blessings is that I started the Takeoff company just before COVID, and it has literally taken off since July of 2020 and grown at such a pace that I've really needed to stay focused on growing my team and maintaining the quality and integrity of the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So yes, it is an intention to create an online program. It's intended to have different modules for different situations. But I just need more time in my day. 20 hours isn't enough.
Well, you got to go listen to the episode that came out today with Ron Nash. Well, it's not today now. Well, it is because we're recording, but this is in June. Go back and listen to the episode from May 25th with Ron Nash on time management. It's fantabulous, and he'll help you get that figured right out.
Yeah, I've actually done some time management training with Tony Robbins as well. It's still a limit as to how many hours there are in the day, and I really cannot risk losing the quality of the output that we're doing, because we're working for the biggest companies. One of our clients is the biggest company in the country, doing over $1 billion in flooring. I can't afford to make a mistake for those people.
No, totally understandable. Breanna, your dad was a contractor, and that's correct, if I remember?
No, he actually never worked in construction, but he remodeled every house that we lived in. He's one of those guys that kind of knows how to do it all. So, yeah.
No, well, he got teamed up with Oliver at a fixer-upper thing, right? I forget how it happened. He was there working, right? Like, he has enough knowledge. Okay, so I mean that existed. You met Oliver, you got involved. You're doing the tile thing. You're going to coverings. You're a woman in the trades. What has that experience been like? And have you seen you said, you got to join a female only group online, and that was really rewarding. So it's not always been an easy space for women to be in. Has there anything negative ever come from the direction of trade organizations, or do you feel they've always been really supportive and it's these outliers just within the construction community that kind of suck and really want to try and hold women back?
Yeah, I personally haven't had any negative experiences in the field being a woman. Thankfully, I haven't really, that hasn't come up. What we do, we work a lot directly with homeowners and doing remodels. And when it's something like a tile shower or a backsplash, it's very, like the wife is kind of like, this is her thing. She's wanted this shower. She knows, like, she's got everything picked out. She knows how she wants it to look. So kind of in that arena, they love it when they see a woman show up to help work. We do some new construction for builders, but I have not experienced anything but respect from everyone that I've worked with. There might be the odd, person on the job site that, wants to act obnoxious or, do whatever. But my experience has been really positive, as well as with the trade organizations. It's been positive as well. So I haven't really experienced anything negative. So I'm very lucky in that.
That's awesome. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Laurie, any negative experiences between trying to learn, buy the tools, going to the supply shops and ordering stuff? Just it's out there, it exists, and it sucks.
I got it in the beginning a little bit from fellow men in the trades who were basically helpers, and kind of with the jealous kind of thing going on, because I was working for a man who had his own company and I was a helper. And then I just really enjoyed it and took to it. And I can remember getting negative comments of just like stuff about, just being a woman and not being able to do it. And it was, that was about it. It was only in the beginning. And like Breanna said, I work a lot with homeowners as well as contractors, and both of them alike love the fact that I'm a woman. And I also have another woman that works with me too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very hands-on, and we do have a couple crews that work with us as well. And we're always a presence on the jobs,
Mm-hmm.
if we're not doing the jobs ourselves. So, and people love that. They we get comments all the time that we will be more attentive to detail. We come in afterwards and we just clean their house. We bring our cleaning supplies and we just clean everything, because it just makes it for a great job, especially when you're in a nice custom house. We just come through and we do spend a lot of time on the little detail items, making sure everything is wrapped up.
Is this something that you think needs to get pushed more to girls in the future? Is this something that the organizations need to pick up, in your opinion, and push out to the public? Is, hey,
Yeah.
women can do this and they can do it successfully?
Yeah, I agree with that. And men as well, they obviously do a good job as well, but sometimes the little details are the things that they will lack, like just the communication and just the fine little punch list that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. Kathy, I'll come to you in 1 minute. I didn't ask Breanna. So is this something that is women in the trade, something that the organizations need to pick up? Is that a message that really needs to get pushed out, or is this something that women in construction need to just worry about and find a way to start pushing out?
No, I think it's a dual effort. I think the organizations, could do a better job at focusing more on women.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we're the ones that are like, we decide our fate. So, or our success. So, just getting as involved as we can. I think it's on us as well, because if we take the initiative, to get involved, the organizations will notice that. And they'll, if there's not interest, I don't think they can spend the time on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these, they're not trying to make money in what they do. They're a nonprofit organization. So they have to allocate their resources, to where they're going to be the most effective. So I think, we have to get out there and just let them know that we're interested and that we want to be involved. Mm-hmm. And, if they see that, I think, that they'll embrace it, and they're starting to.
The key there that I heard you say was, if we take the time to get involved, they'll notice it. And man or woman, I don't care who you are. You have to take the time to go get involved in the thing that you're participating in to make a living if you want to see it succeed. You can't complain. You can't sit back. You can't say nobody's doing anything for you if you're not taking the time to get involved and help fix it. So go get involved. Kathy, I know you have a good story. I don't know that we want to retell that story, but you came up, if you were doing, jobs and projects in the 80s here, you definitely came up in a time when like a woman in power was definitely something that was going to be frowned upon. There was still a lot of negativity towards that happening then. It was starting to happen, maybe you were wearing big shoulder pads back then. That was the style. I can remember my mom having big shoulder pads. But like, what has that been like? How have you seen the attitude towards women in positions of power in construction change over the years? Or do you think that same mentality is still kind of there for the most part?
Oh my God, it has definitely changed. I got into it in 1979, and it wasn't just that women weren't on the job. They were not wanted on the job. The people were just downright nasty. And if you didn't have a thick skin, you'd be quitting real fast. Mm-hmm. I grew up, my dad taught me to be a much stronger person than that. So I walked on that job as if I was there and you just had to put up with me because I wasn't going anywhere. it definitely has improved. There's no question about it. You're seeing more women in leadership roles. They reported just recently that the percentage of women in construction has increased by 2%. But more importantly, the positions that they're in are in much higher positions. So there's no question that women are getting to higher positions. Unfortunately, we're still not paid at the same level as our counterparts, but at least we're being recognized and promoted.
And then we hit on it a little bit earlier. One of your things that you're working on with the National Association of Women in Construction is that you are hitting kids where they're at. You're going to elementary schools, you're going to middle schools, you're going to high schools, and you're getting in the classroom and you're giving them projects to do and having them learn about the industry. So if we were talking, we're like this hidden set of people. And so now you have women getting in front of other young women and presenting this opportunity to them. So obviously that's something you truly believe in. And I think it's really important because they're so influential at that age. But how have you been doing it long enough to see any of those kids come out of high school and pursue a career in construction yet?
So I've been fortunate. First and foremost, I just want to point out that when we go as the National Association of Women in Construction, we're trying to talk to all genders, not just to the girls in the classroom. We certainly can represent a role model for those girls and make them aware that the opportunity exists for them. But we do try to get all students involved or thinking about the opportunities of careers in construction. I'm fortunate enough that there is a premier career and technical education program here in the Richmond area that is being modeled throughout North America. And so they're doing a great job and we're working together with them to promote it. He does a career day once a year for careers that do not require college degrees. And I've participated in it since the very first one, which was only a few years ago. And during COVID, he actually did an online program where people could come into your room and talk to you about your career and understand the opportunities. When it's live, the very first one was live. And I actually went together with somebody from APE and a flooring contractor. So we represented different avenues that people can get involved in the flooring industry so that they don't just see it as the dirty job on their knees. And they can see the possibility of perhaps starting as an installer and working their way up, whether they want to own their own business or go to work for a manufacturer or take a management position in a contracting firm, just giving them those opportunities to know that you're not stuck in one position if you decide to come in, and to get them to realize the kind of money that they could be making without having a six-figure debt from college.
And was that successful? Did you have a lot of kids coming up and being super interested?
It tended that they were more interested in what I was doing than the contracting and manufacturing side. And I think it's because, when we're doing our blueprints, they're pretty colors and great patterns. And so it catches their eyes, and it's computers. So it's another reason that it's getting their attention. But we do try to talk about all the different career opportunities.
It's funny. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that they're in the process now of working with Jim Aaron to create a program to train floor installers with that same idea of the 10-week program, but actually making it like a semester or a full year worth of training. This particular program, they actually build 2 houses from the ground up. And when I say from the ground up, they actually have the students go into the neighborhood and survey the houses and determine and design houses that stay within the confines of the neighborhood so that they don't underbuild and they don't overbuild. And they have a competition to pick the winning floor plans, and then they build the entire house. In the past, they always had the flooring done by a local flooring company. The last 2 houses, I got an installer to work with the students to install the floors.
That's cool.
Very cool. It's funny that you mentioned like a lot of them are coming up and they're more interested in the computer side of it, because one of my mastermind group members just went and did a local like job fair at their high school, and nobody really came up to their booth to be interested in what they were doing because it's hard work. And but there was a few girls that came up, and there was a electrical contractor there too, and the guys weren't really interested, but he had a few girls approach him as well. So the women are approaching, but the guys don't want to go work hard.
One of the things that we did when we went to the career day was we had stuff that they could touch and feel and play with. So they were much more interactive than just standing there and, saying what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped.
I'm sure that would help. I don't know how much space you get at these things, right? It'd be kind of hard to bring in a power stretcher and set up a booth in a room, start letting them kick some stuff in. But no, it's something to keep in mind. Correct.
They can cut vinyl tiles and make designs with that. From the grout manufacturer's perspective, they can mix a pale, a thin set, grout some tiles. Yeah. So there's ways. You just have to be creative.
Exactly. Well, and that's it. We need to get creative to draw attention and show people what's going on. So my kids had a blast at one of the manufacturer's booths when they had a new ramp patching compound. It was able to build up a ramp, but my kids were at Tice summer 2021, and they were playing with the trowel and moving it all around, and they were having a blast, getting dirty with the stuff. So you got to entice them somehow. I'm all about it. Okay. Breanna, I'll start with you. Is there anything we didn't hit on, we should have hit on, that you feel we need to discuss as part of this topic?
I think the only other thing that I wanted to mention, as far as, how an organization has been beneficial to our business, is CTEP. Mm-hmm. I think that's an important one to bring out too. We haven't really talked about that. We have had people that have found us through their directory. Maybe Oliver knows, I'm not sure how they knew to check there. But we had one customer that kind of stands out in particular. She found us through that. And then there's on their website, they have a 10 question, list for the homeowner to kind of look out for different things when the contractor's in their home. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the job, she printed that out and she filled it out with everything that, we had done that met, those requirements. So that was really nice that she took the time not only to find us through that, but then also to, let us know how we did on all of those, bullet points. So, that was only one customer, but, anything that you can do to level up your business and just set yourself apart, and being a part of these organizations really helps you to do that. Even if there's not a lot of people that notice, it's those that do, it makes an impact on them, and it shows them that you're, passionate about your trade. And it just gives them more confidence that, and love what you're doing, so they can trust you in their home.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Ceramic Tile Education Foundation, where you can go get your certified tile installer or your advanced certified tile installer certificate. I don't know what ACT stands for. Advanced Certified Tiler, something like that. I don't know. I'm not a tile guy. I'm sorry, folks. But they have the search function on there. I know NWFA has a search function to find a certified professional area, whether it's an inspector, installer, sand and finisher. CFI has the same thing. You can go on there and search for a professional. And I've gotten the phone calls. Now, generally speaking, because I'm certified through CFI, they're looking for a carpet person, and the consumer doesn't do a great job of seeing what I'm certified for. But I'm getting calls because I'm listed on a directory. How they find them, I think a lot of times it's like, at least on that side, it's generally through carpet mills, I feel. I don't know that consumers know that's there. I think that's one thing I'd like to see changed, is like that, have better search functionality, or trying to get that information out to consumers, that there are industry organizations that certify you to do it a certain way and to certain standards. And you don't have to just go hire Chuck in a truck. Like, you can have a better system of knowing what you're getting. But my certification has paid off for itself. It's definitely a marketing tool, and I use it as one. And I know I've won projects for it, and I've been told, like, we went with you because you have the certification. So that's been really nice. So I agree with you that that's a really valuable tool when you actually use it as the tool it's meant to be used as.
Yeah. And I think we have it, my husband, I'm not certified. It's a goal that I have. I would like to get there. He has, his number on the website, and I think, he just redid our site, but he has, a link to that website for CTEF, so that, I don't know how many people actually click on it, but, we're trying to, let them know that resource is there.
No, I love it. You should go take it in, I think in August or September. Katie just got one up in Maine, so you can go join Katie and take it with her.
Take a road trip to Maine.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Laurie, anything that we should have hit on or didn't hit on?
No, actually, I found it very informative, and actually kind of inspired to get a certification, mainly for marketing. I like that. So
there you go. We're going to get you paying the NWFA here in just a minute. We'll get you on the website. We'll get you signed up. It'll be great. They'll get a new member. Beautiful.
Well, not only that, but it is nice to learn new things in the industry and stay up to date, and really embrace all the new stuff that's coming along too. So,
and I think that's the key here, is that it's not, they're not outdated, they're not irrelevant. It's sometimes we struggle to keep up, and sometimes the information isn't disseminated the way it needs to be disseminated. But is that necessarily the trade organization's fault, or is that the members' fault? And so it may be focusing more on getting your members excited is something that needs to happen. And then you would hear about it more, because there's got to be certified people up in Colorado that are, sand and finishers and inspectors and whatnot. But if they're not being excited and you're not able to find them, then what's it matter? So,
yeah.
All right, Kathy, anything we didn't hit on that you think we needed to talk about?
Well, I think we've kind of hit on it, but just the same, I can't stress enough that it's everybody's job to get out and promote the industry. Growing up for me, you just knew the next generation was coming into the business. And by the mid to late 80s, installers were sending their kids to college instead. So you didn't have that next generation coming into the trade. I can't stress enough, men or women getting involved with the women in the National Association of Women in Construction when they're going into the school systems and talking to these students and getting them involved in the different competitions that they do. And their career days, and just getting in front of them so that you don't have that situation like Jim and Scott had, where people didn't even have a clue that there was a potential for a career in flooring. That's a sad state of affairs for our industry. So getting out there and doing your part to make sure that we keep this going, because we're losing more installers than we're gaining. And that's just going to be a problem for the industry as a whole. It has been, and it will continue to get worse, not better.
Correct. I mean, the people that know what they're doing, it's going to be really lucrative for. But once it becomes really lucrative, how many people are going to jump in just to make that money? And then we're right back where we started with, now we got to go, get everyone that's competing at a bottom feeding level and doing horrible work to get trained. And so I would love to see this try and get fixed now, to where a lot of people really step up and try and run better companies and get training in place and inspire the next generation to fully embrace being involved and caring about what they're putting out and where their industry is going, so that we don't end up in the same situation to where, you don't know what you're going to get, and homeowners don't even know how to vet their contractors. And then what happens? You end up paying for a project 3 times because you hire somebody and it fails, and then you hire somebody else and it fails, and then you get somebody, the 3rd time, or it lasts a couple of years, and then you find out your entire shower has been molding behind your wall for 5 years, or the finish starts peeling off your floor 2 years down the road, or who knows what it's going to be. So it's getting the information out to a new generation and getting them excited and wanting to be involved, I think, is really the key of what needs to happen here. And that's the trade organizations getting out the right message, and then the members getting excited about it as well and pushing everything forward. So I think that'll do it. I appreciate all of you coming on. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for putting up with trying to get this scheduled. I know it's not easy to get 4 people together, so I appreciate you working with me on that. I want to remind everybody that Floor Academy is always here to help you turn your business from a job into an actual business, and from a business into an asset. Go and check out flooracademypod.com. Go to the shop, pick up a really cool t-shirt, get a fanny pack. Go to a trade show with a Floor Academy fanny pack. You will be the coolest person around. I guarantee it. They're on there. Don't forget about winning the tile cutter. And if you're struggling with knowing your numbers, you can go on the file section of flooracademypod.com, download the business budget business calculator. I forget what I named it. It's over there. It'll run you through and help you figure out what it actually costs you to run your business per day, and then you can get a better idea of what you need to be charging per week, per month, to run an actual profitable business instead of possibly living hand to mouth. And we don't want anybody doing that. So that's it for this week, and we will be back with another episode next week.